The flight path of all classified technology at Edwards would take place in a specific area north of the base. But this does not match the reported locations and flight paths of the UFOs.
The official report from the Air Force said that these were
unidentified lights that were seen at Edwards.
Okay, so that's where it stood, even though Captain Valent said that these were planes.
Well, they're just unidentified. That's about all you can say.
But he still believes that there is more to this case.
I'm personally very happy that they've reopened the case of the unidentified flying object that went past Edwards. It's been something I've wondered about for 40 years myself.
Are these UFOs that are repeatedly entering restricted military airspace? And what did Chuck Sorrells, Darrell Clark, and the lab's radar stations actually make contact with on October 7th, 1965?
We're looking for about 7 UFOs.
The team examines the final piece of the Edwards puzzle, the radar readings from the Los Angeles Air Defense Sector.
It looks like multiple targets there.
With eyewitnesses, declassified recordings, and handwritten never-before-seen testimony, the team has uncovered a mountain of evidence regarding the night of October 7th, 1965, at Edwards Air Force Base.
I'm getting some reports for Edwards Tower, Victorville Tower, and several radar sites about UFOs.
Their final step is to authenticate the official radar images from the San Pedro radar station that evening. Images that the official report later discount as anomalous weather propagation. This phenomenon is caused by a temperature inversion. The Earth's atmosphere usually cools as elevation rises, but an inversion can sometimes occur, where the temperature either does not cool or, in some extreme cases, gets warmer with height. When this occurs, this warmer layer acts like a lid, which can lead to haze or pollution being trapped beneath this layer, resulting in false radar hits.
Edwards is observing them from the ground. 2 towers observing them, and we're carrying height and radar, and we have a track on them.
Radar analyst John Kirk is assisting the team in authenticating the radar and discussing theories on what else these objects might have been.
I'm about to meet a radar systems engineer, John Kirk, who has radar experience from the military and has worked with radar for over 50 years.
My name is John Kirk. I'm a radar systems engineer.
These are the actual images from the radar displays at Fort MacArthur, taken in San Pedro during that evening in 1965. The images were taken at intervals, creating a visual timeline that tracks the object's movement throughout the entire incident.
They're moving slowly and climbing slowly, and they have been confirmed on radar.
You look at the images and they're pretty standard. I mean, this is a display. These are just markers on it. So what this tells me is that this radar was looking, it did pick up some moving targets. It did put some information on them.
On the actual radar image, these areas are identified by Kirk as moving targets.
So we got multiple targets here.
Looks like there's multiple targets, and as you cycle through some of these things, you'll see the pictures changing. It looks like there's maybe 1, 2, 3. My guess is there's about 4, 5, 6 targets.
Kirk counts 6 targets on the radar image, but still, this does not discount the theories of anomalous propagation.
Well, anomalous propagation could be caused by a weather. Okay. An inversion or something that's going on, clouds coming in, some moisture near. There's a lot of atmospheric anomalies.
Does it make any sense to you what it could possibly be? No, we're in as much dark as you are.
It's hard for me to think that that's anomalous propagation. If there was anomalous propagation, you'd think you'd see more of a blob rather than an individual.
So this doesn't look like anomalous propagation?
It looks like individual things.
According to Kirk, anomalous propagation would appear as a blob, while these images appear to be independent targets.
It looks like targets.
Yeah, it looked like targets to me. Yeah, what kind, I can't say.
Okay.
I have no idea. It just looked like there's targets out there, and then the radars are working like they're supposed to be working.
In addition, 5 separate radar sites wouldn't pick up the same false reading at the same time. While Kirk cannot speculate what the objects could have been, he is impressed with the amount of evidence surrounding this story.
For a pilot to write down, this is what I saw, for an operator to say this is what I saw. It's a lot of collaborative information. I can't refute it, but just on the basis of these, they do look like real tracks.
Okay.
It doesn't look like it would be an anomalous propagation. These look like they're real.
So there are 3 definite objects. It's not weather, it's not flutter. They see the objects, but they don't see, they're not aircraft. No, they can't tell what they are.
Former National Weather Service meteorologist William Puckett also has evidence that suggests these radar images cannot be explained away by anomalous propagation. On the night of October 7th, 1965, according to the National Climatic Data Center, the atmosphere was very dry and had no temperature inversions, 2 key characteristics that can create these false radar hits. Without these conditions present, the likelihood of the radar hits being anomalous propagation is close to 0. The surface weather at Edwards from midnight to 6 a.m. also shows clear skies, mild temperatures, and little to no wind. Visibility is estimated to be 35 miles. With these factors, the distortion or misidentification of celestial objects such as Jupiter, Saturn, or other stars is highly unlikely. But after the incident and the subsequent investigation into it, the military decided to seal all the records and audio concerning the case. Their explanation was that the radar hits were false positives and that the eyewitnesses had merely misidentified celestial objects, despite the overwhelming evidence ruling these theories out.
You know, it's just amazing to me to hear that possibly we have UFOs penetrating secure airspace, military airspace, in the United States with impunity. According to the account, both on the tapes, the radar traces, and Sorrell's account of it, that it was exceeding any known flight envelope characteristics of any aircraft of that time or since.
It is much, much higher than when we first observed it.
These audio recordings of actual events sent chills down my spine.
I have another red light and green light combination in sight moving very rapidly.
When you sit down and you listen to all the people that were involved, there were a whole bunch of voices in that chatter that did not know what was going on.
Of course, around Edwards, you'll ever see most anything.
The audio is the smoking gun.
He's climbing. Much higher, much higher. Rising rapidly. It looks like it's right above.
They classified the tape for 30 years. What was on the tape that had to be classified? Secret weapons? No. Special radar? No. What it was UFO.
Over 40 years later, the incident at Edwards Air Force Base continues to be unexplained. Today, the Air Force Flight Test Center's motto is Ad Inexplorata, toward the unexplored. A fitting description for that night in October, perhaps the most compelling and little-known sighting of a UFO known to date.